You've lost a loved one due to the carelessness of another, and you want to know what your legal rights are. Specifically, you'd like to know what elements of damages you're entitled to recover as a result of the wrongful death. So there are two areas of damages that are generally recoverable: economic losses and non-economic losses. Let's talk about the economic losses called the loss of net accumulations. This is one element of damages, and we're going to cover that in this video. Okay, the loss of net accumulations is basically an element of damages that goes to the deceased's estate. Okay, there are certain elements of damages that go to the survivors of the deceased, and there are certain elements that go to the estate. The estate of the deceased basically is made up of the assets of the deceased minus the debts. So what happens is the lost net accumulation goes toward it becomes an asset of the estate. And so of course the assets of the estate are divided among the heirs according to the will or according to the intestacy laws. So how do you calculate lost net accumulations? Essentially, lost net accumulations is the amount of money that the deceased would have earned over their lifetime from the date of the injury until the date that they would have died if they had lived out their full life expectancy. That amount is obviously speculative, and so the way that we prove that amount is through an economist who uses tables and charts and diagrams to figure out exactly, to figure out the likely amount of money that the deceased would have earned over their lifetime. And what they do is they consider their career trajectory, and they consider a lot of factors. Now, what you have to do though, once you determine the amount of money they would have earned over a lifetime, then you have to subtract from that the amount of money that they were likely to have spent over their lifetime. By you've determined the amount they would have earned, subtracting the amount they would have spent, then you get the number that makes up the loss of net accumulations. And so what your economist expert's going to do is they're going to use the trajectory of the earning to calculate the earnings, their trajectory of spending to calculate their spending, and they're going to come up with the number, and then they're going to reduce it down to present value. And then that is the number that you're going to claim for lost net accumulations. So it's a complicated process that we do by experts, by expert testimony. So there are a couple of idiosyncrasies in the law that I wanted to discuss with regards to lost net accumulations. First of all, if the deceased is a minor child that has no spouse or no lineal descendants, and a minor child under the Wrongful Death Act in Florida is defined as a child 25 years old or younger. Okay, but if they have no spouse or no lineal descendants, then there is no recovery allowed for lost net accumulations. However, if it's an adult child who dies, then the estate is entitled to compensation for lost net accumulations, even if the only survivors of the estate are the parents of the adult child. Even if the only survivors of the deceased are the parents of the adult child, who were most likely not going to live long enough to inherit the money from the adult child's estate. So that's a little bit of an interesting wrinkle in the law. So ultimately, lost net accumulations is a very important element of the damages. If you have a wrongful death lawsuit, please talk to your lawyer about how he or she is going to prove the loss of net accumulations of the deceased. And if you have any questions that you want to address to me, I am a wrongful death lawyer. I'm available to talk. I can always give second opinions. I can always tell you my thoughts on the elements of your wrongful death case. So my name is Jimmy Fasig. I am the senior partner of Fasig Brooks Law Offices. I am a wrongful death lawyer. My number is 850-777-7777. That's 850-777-7777. Thank you.